Hello, this is wmpyr here to talk about yesterday's training. And there I was holding a private lesson for my student, and he brought me this. He gave me this as a gift. It's a very nice Eskrima stick, and I was like, dude, you don't have to do that, man. And he told me that he had one just like it, and I was like, well, shouldn't you have two so that you could do double stick training? He was like, no, 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 I got this for you, and I was like, man, that's super nice, man. You really don't have to do this. And I'm looking at it. It has like a burnt scorpion on it. It is longer than I would say average and a little bit thicker than average. So this is great for like single stick training. Kind of makes me think of like Dog Brothers type of stick. And yeah, it's so awesome. So thank you so much for this. And now let me talk about yesterday's training. Yesterday's training was lock flow. That was the main emphasis. And lock flow is pretty much when you're training in Filipino martial arts, it is, I would say, a mandatory material. It's usually in there. And yes, I do teach it the traditional way, but I also incorporate my own 2 cents. So after I teach the traditional way, which I could teach to just about anyone, but then I, I, I add my version of lock flow. And then in a more specific case, like with my student, then I could go into more different stuff because I know he can handle it, right? So that's what we did. But before I get into that, so what's the difference between the traditional lock flow and my lock flow? Mine is I progressed it, and that doesn't put down the traditional lock flow. That, like I said, I teach that, I respect it, and I think it's good for what it is. Mine is different, and the reason for the difference there, and what. Okay, first of all, what's the difference? The difference is mainly mine comes from my disarming formula, which I've shared with you guys. Which after you do the parry stuff, the defang the snake stuff, after that, then it's catch, secure, and then it's isolate. Those are the 3 steps. That's the formula for my disarming techniques, right? So catch, secure, and then isolate. Those are the 3. So it's based off of that. The catching and the isolating part, sometimes it bypasses and may or may not happen. So then what really happens is the securing part. The securing part is mandatory. That is what kind of sets the pace there. It's so dominant. I found in through experimenting, through sparring and testing it out, that is kind of where it's at. It's the securing part. So the securing, in other words, really is very similar to, or if not, it's the pummeling done in wrestling. So we're talking overhook and underhook, and I really don't care if you're on the inside or on the outside, if it's with the left arm or the right arm or both arms. It doesn't matter. Overhook, underhook. That's what it comes down to. And the other one is head control. So Muay Thai fighters and wrestlers do head control very, very well. And that's what it comes down to. So that's the securing part. That's the main difference between the lock flow that I teach and the traditional Filipino martial arts lock flow. It's missing that, Definitely not. That is definitely not emphasized, and that is definitely not trained full contact with sparring. Almost zero, if not zero. Um, and I understand why. So yesterday, like I said, with my student, this guy is a special case. He is a collegiate level wrestler, right? So with this guy, I know he can handle it. So we basically sparred. I'm still messed up from it. I feel very, very sore. Um, it's been almost like 10 years for me since I've done this kind of training where I've sparred like this. Um, and back in the day, I used to spar all the time, but now I'm so glad that I don't. And I've moved away from it because it's just too rough. Okay, so when a student comes into my school, I'm gonna teach them lock flow. Yes, the traditional way. Why? Because anybody and everybody can do that. Everybody can learn that. Now, the lock flow concept that I'm teaching here with sparring, I feel like this will take your skill level to another level and your abilities to a higher level for real life. Absolutely, I feel this way. However, not everybody can do it. If a 60 or 70-year-old man came into my class, I'm not going to spar full contact with a guy. I'm not. And I'm getting older too, by the way. I'll be 44 this year, so I'm getting older and older. I'm not just going to be able to do this. Right now, I'm like super sore. And back in the day, I was super sore, but you just keep going. Now I can't do that. I have to heal. And it's just something that I'm going to be able to do less and less. So look, the people that say like, for example, and you hear this, I don't blame the people that say it because you hear it so much. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is something that you can do for the rest of your life up until old age. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. For someone who has trained in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for on and off for about 10 years, I can tell you, no, no way. It's a very, very difficult. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it's very, very difficult. And now you're going to have to do it very specifically, and you're going to have to do it with very specific training partners. If you walk into a commercial BJJ dojo and you're 60 or 70 years old, good luck. That's all I have to say, really. So this is a very special case, and the training is going to change. So in other words, what I'm saying is that there's thousands of people training Tai Chi all over the world. So maybe tens of thousands, maybe, I don't know how many, but many, many people training Tai Chi in the parks, in retirement homes and whatnot, and hospitals and stuff, and they're doing Tai Chi exercises. They're doing Tai Chi, right? That's not going to get replaced by BJJ. It's not. So that's a fact. If you can't see that, you fell into the marketing. So, and you can say like, well, Helio Gracie did it up until 90 years old or whatever. Helio Gracie is not the average human being. I don't care. They could say he wasn't able to do a pull-up or this and that or whatever, but Helio Gracie is a badass. There was a story about the guy, like they were on a boat and a girl fell off or she was swimming off of the boat and she got attacked by a shark. This dude didn't even hesitate, jumped in the water and saved her. How many people can actually do that, even in their primes, to not even hesitate, jump in the water and save this girl? He's not the average person. So, don't tell me, that, oh, Helio Gracie at 90 years old did BJJ, you could do it too. No. it is possible. It is possible. But once again, you're going to have to change it so much that you can't, it's not the same as your commercial BJJ school. All right. So let me just leave it at that. I'm not here to argue, I'm just saying it, and either you agree with it or not. Take my word for it or not, So personally, that's why I really enjoy doing this right now, because I don't have to worry about getting super sore and messed up and whatnot, man. It's like my neck, all this, my spine, and it's a good thing that I studied Russian martial arts. That's another martial art a lot of people make fun of. But when I study the Russian martial art, we work on body mechanics, and you've seen them where they take hits on each other, and they practice releasing it and this kind of thing. You learn your body mechanics. So I have skeletal exercises to try to massage myself from the inside and tried to heal myself better, you know. So thank goodness I went through that. So I would never ever make fun of like a Sistema style martial art, you know, because of that. Because in ways of using it like for healing and this kind of thing, it's awesome. It's to me it was mandatory. So yeah, and that's another thing. The lock flow that we did yesterday, we sparred. He later texted me and said he went 70%. Yeah, you go to a commercial BJJ school. We weren't trying to kill each other, but there's definitely some points in there where you're going pretty hard, pretty freaking hard. We're rolling, we are sparring, and that kind of training, I believe, if you want a higher level of performance for self-defense or for the street, you need to know what that's like. You need to know what it's like when another human being is fully resisting you and coming at you. If you don't know what it's like, then, if all you do is just technique practice, just like a person doing yo-yo or playing the piano, human beings can become very, very skilled. And so same with martial arts, you could become super, super skilled. But if you don't know the context in which it's going to be used, and by context, I don't mean street fight or real life situation or go to war or something like that. It doesn't have to be that extreme, but it needs to be where you're feeling human resistance and a human being trying to dominate you and putting their strategies to you. They're trying to make their thoughts happen onto you, and you're trying to do that to them, where you're imposing your will on each other. The battle of this, that needs to be there. You need to feel that. So I'm against someone who says, well, if you fight how you train, so it needs to be as realistic as possible. So then it's like, what, you're going to go to you're gonna have a street fight every day? No. Even the dudes that say stuff like, yeah, I don't train, I just street fight every weekend. I go to a bar and I get into a street fight, and that's my training right there. That versus someone that trains at a school, and it's not even, the school's not that important. It could be a garage, it doesn't matter. But you train with people and you spar, 3 times a week. And within each class, you spar multiple times, maybe at the very least once or twice, but you spar multiple times. Do the math, just plain math. That person will surpass the street fighter who bar fights every weekend. The person that trains like that will surpass the street fighter in no time. Just do the math. It's a no-brainer, okay? And plus, the street fight is so intense. Maybe the bar fight, if the guy's drunk or something, boom, you knock him out with one hit. Is that really a fight? But let's say you count those two. So then the fight itself is not that intense, but the consequences are, and you might end up in jail. And when you're in jail and this and that, all those kinds of things happen. It's super intense. You can't consistently train if that's how you train, by fighting. So once again, it's no comparison to going to a class and sparring full contact and getting that in a couple of times a week. You just can't compare it to that. That's the way professionals train. That's the way to go. So realistic is not better. The most realistic gets you killed in the hospital or in jail. That's the most realistic, because that's the real thing. So that's not a smart way to train. So that being said, though, once again, my main message here is, you need that if you want a higher level of performance, if you have these kinds of expectations. If you don't, and you go, look, I'm interested in self-defense, I'm a frail person, but I'm not going to expect, just because I learned some stuff, that at the end of this class that I'm going to be able to handle myself against someone that's 240 pounds, fresh out of prison. If you don't have that kind of dumb expectation, then you're good to go. You go, if I can use it, great. Hopefully I'll never be in that situation. But in case I do, I'll have one or two things where I know kind of what I'm supposed to do, and that might be good enough for you. And hopefully, you're never ever in a bad situation. That's probably most people, hopefully. So then there's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to go spar full contact. You don't have to train on and off like I did for 10 years of my life doing BJJ and other grappling styles. You know what I mean? You don't have to do that. You don't have to be sore and all kinds of injuries and whatnot. You don't have to go through that. And man, some of the injuries I got affect me to this day. So, so if you're kind of doing it as a hobby and just in case I have this, then that's fine. And and you should expect that it may not work. And and if you're cool with that, then that's fine. If you need for it to work, absolutely, there's no guarantee, but you have a higher expectation, you're demanding more, then you need to put in more. That's a no-brainer, right? If you're going to demand more, you got to put in more. So you put in more training, and that's what it's going to come down to. You need to have that sparring experience. Once again, not for everybody. So because it's not for everybody, not everyone can handle it, then that puts the traditional martial arts as a necessary thing. The guys that don't spar, their system, their styles is a good thing, because not everybody can do the full contact stuff. Not everybody can be at an athletic enough level, a tough enough level, to do that. And even the tough guys, even the athletic guys, they can't do this all their lives. So that's where the other, the non-sparring styles will come in, the traditional martial arts. That's when you can do this. So once you did kickboxing, let's say, or you were a wrestler, now you're retired, but you still want to have some background, go to traditional martial arts. There you go. That's the answer. You're older, you have some injuries, go to traditional martial arts. Some of them actually help you heal. That's what I found out. So that stuff has its place. It has its place. Or you could do what, for some people like myself, that I was born very sick and frail. I started with traditional martial arts and I worked my way to the combat sports, to where you need to be athletic to be able to do that stuff. So I worked my way there, And now that and once I was there, I worked my way back down to traditional martial arts, and now that's where I'm at again, But I did do it, and if you don't do that stuff, like you've never done it, or you're what you've done is this much, then you need to be realistic with yourself enough to admit that. And you need to be able to say to your students that I really, my stuff is traditional martial arts, and I really haven't done enough of the full contact sparring. So these are just exercises. These are just body mechanics. Don't go thinking that now you could go, because I don't know the context. I don't have enough experience with it to give you the context. You need to be able to say that. You need to be able to admit that. That's something I just don't see. Just flat across YouTube, I don't see that. And that's why people come out and go, this instructor is BS. This instructor's bullcrap. They start saying stuff like that. Their stuff doesn't work. It's not that their stuff doesn't work. Their stuff has its place, but they're mistaking it with the guys that have fought. So they're mistaking it as having context when it doesn't. So we need to divide that and separate it so that we understand that. But I'm not separating it for the purpose of putting one down and saying one's better. That's not what I'm doing. I'm saying that they're both necessary, and I'm not saying that to be political. If you guys can understand, I'm not trying to be everybody peaceful. That's not what I'm saying. I believe in that, but that's not the goal here. The goal is, I'm saying we need traditional martial art. It has a specific purpose. And then over here with the combat sports, it has a specific purpose. You have to understand that and know the pros and cons and use them to your benefit and I'm trying to share that with you guys, and hopefully that makes sense. And if it doesn't, well, I tried my best. And for to those people that it clicks, I'm glad that it's going to help you out. And for those that don't understand it, well, hopefully you'll find some different YouTube channel that will help you understand this stuff um, more. So anyway, that's it. That's all I got for now. Thank you for listening, and take care, folks.